afternoon to all of you, and welcome to the last live stream of this year, 2024. Hello, hello. So, when I just typed 1 minute in the chat, literally the same second, I heard the construction noise coming on. Not kidding. I think it's a rock crusher. So, it's quiet now again. Let's grab that opportunity and hope that that was it. I hope it was that. Okay, so in today's stream, we're going to paint. There it is, the rock crusher. In today's stream, we're going to paint fireworks with watercolor and also using wax crayon, or crayon for some resist techniques. Sorry, I'm so distracted by the construction going on. I tried actually a few different approaches to the same subject. So as you can see here, I tried a bunch of different things. Let me just check. This one over here is with the wax crayon. This one was lifting and jelly roll pen. And these two here are masking fluid. So I have to say masking fluid works really well for this technique too. However, because it takes so much time to dry, I decided we'll try the wax crayon technique today. All right, I'm gonna turn the camera around and explain the steps and supplies we're gonna use today. All right, as always, it's gonna be a bit shaky, so put it up. Okay, here we go. All right, let me put this down also. So just a little thing to laugh for you guys about. The reason why I'm late is not just because I wanted to make another cup of tea, but also my hair got stuck in my phone holder. I'm not kidding. So the thing I am trying to get my phone into right now grabbed my hair and held on to it. So I more or less had to rip my hair out of this silly phone holder. But I still have enough, so I can spare a few. Okay, I have my iPad set up as well with the chat, so let me look over to the chat. Hello everyone. Hello everyone from Canada, Germany, LA, New Jersey. Ah, wonderful. Okay, I think my mom also wanted to check in with us. Let's see, I don't think she's there yet. Hi everyone. Wonderful, wonderful. All right, so, oh, and Agnieszka is there too. Hi Linda and Steph, Kirsten, Marjorie. Hi Sylvie, Emmy. Oh, wonderful. Okay. Oh, Tracy, hi. Let me just start with explaining the supplies. Let's start with that. All right, so I have today watercolor paper that is hot press, which means it has a very smooth surface. The reason I'm doing this is because if you use a rough surface paper, cold press, your wax crayons will show a lot. So you'll have a lot of texture in your fireworks. Okay, so sorry you guys, I got a phone call. One minute. I'm just gonna see if I can switch on the no disturb. Oh, okay, no, I guess. I thought I had the no disturb button on. Okay. Okay, I'm just apologies you guys. I have to go talk to James for a minute to call them back. Can you hear me all right? Is the picture okay? All right, just 1 second. Jamesy, sorry, Colleen just tried to call me, even though I'm on a stream. I don't know how that is even possible. Would you please call her, Colleen, so she doesn't try to call me again? Yeah, thank you. Sorry, Josh. Here I am. Apologies, you guys. That's really weird, James. I thought I had put my phone on. Oh my gosh. The end of the year is all in chaos. Okay. Back to the supplies. So the paper. Smooth paper so you don't see the texture of the fireworks too much. I mean, you want a little bit of texture, but not too much. And also, as you can see later on, I went in with some gouache and jelly roll pen, and same thing there. You want smooth lines for that, for the fireworks. As for watercolors, I'm using my own handmade Aloha watercolors, and I chose primary colors today. I want them to be really bright and transparent. So I have a lemon yellow. These two are the same color. And I have Orchid, which is a quinacridone magenta. I have phthalo blue. It's called Manumele. And then this is a Schweinfurt green hue. I think it has another name too. I just can't remember it right now. It's a very beautiful, bright, transparent green. I think Sylvie probably knows. It's one of the crema colors, pigments. In my email newsletter yesterday, I think I mentioned Storm as the darkest color, which is my own mix of Payne's Gray. If you don't have that, you can just mix blue, for example, Prussian blue and black. Or alternatively, you can use Kohola, which is a synthetic indigo blue. Honestly, for the colors today, you do not have to use these colors. Just try to find very bright colors that are transparent. You could even use neon colors. I think that would look really, really fun as well. And yeah, thank you, Sylvie. Paris green. I believe that's the one. It used to be a very toxic pigment, or the pigment is still toxic. But these days they make an alternative. That's why it's called hue. So it's called Paris green hue or Schweinfurt green hue. Okay, these are the paints. And then I am also going to use a regular wax crayon. I have two different ones today to show you. One is just a cheap Crayola. This is a Neocolor 1. And as you're probably familiar with, the Neocolor 2 are water soluble. So you don't want to use those today. Make sure you just use a good old wax crayon that repels water. And it should be white as well. Then I have a little tiny dot of white gouache on my palette still. I'm also going to use an acrylic marker. This is a Posca pen. Any type of acrylic marker or white jelly roll pen will work as well. The good thing about these is because they're acrylic markers, they will also be sticking on top of the wax crayon. So as you can see here, I was able to paint over the wax crayon. With gouache, it can be a little bit tricky because gouache is also a watercolor pretty much, so it will be repelled by the wax crayon surface. I have a pencil. I'm using two brushes today. One is a size 4 with a very pointy tip, and one is a size 10 round brush. And I think that's it, and we can get started. All right. So as for the steps, first we're gonna do a colorful background, wet on wet. Then we're gonna add those little sprinklers here, the color sprinklers, while the paint is still wet. Then we're gonna let everything dry. Next, we're gonna apply the wax crayon to create that fireworks pattern. And that's where it's really fun, you know, the magic happens is when you go over it with your second layer of paint and the fireworks just magically appear. It's almost like the real thing. It's almost like watching fireworks explode in the dark sky. Okay. Oh, this tea is so good. Oh my goodness. Oh wow. This is a tea from Australia that my friend Marie sent me. Melbourne breakfast. Vanilla black tea. It's so good. Okay. So we'll start by laying down some water for the background. So you can just cover your whole piece of paper. If you want crisp edges, you can of course go ahead and tape your edges first. But for this piece, I really like to just have irregular wonky edges. So nice sheen of water. Don't let it be too sopping wet. Actually, mine is pretty wet. The good thing about hot press paper is that it dries more quickly too. So it's not gonna take as long as the cold press. Oh, just in case you want to know, this is actually cotton paper, Baohong. But I think for this whole piece, for this whole technique, it's not necessary to use cotton paper. I think you'll get away with using wood pulp paper here as well. Lemon yellow, and with some broad strokes from top to bottom. Gonna cover the first, I wanted to say the first quarter of the paper, but I think that is a time reference, isn't it? the first quadrant, maybe, of my paper with lemon yellow. I'm rinsing my brush, picking up some Orchid, quinacridone magenta, and then starting at the outer edge of my paper on the right-hand side, I'm going into the yellow, and you can see it mixes to red. That's why I started on this side, so it would be bright pink on this side and then mixing in the center. I'm rinsing my brush again. And I can see in the chat that Linda bought the leaf palette. This one, yeah? It's so pretty, I really like it. So this is the palette I had the longest and I used the most, even though I make my own palettes now. Okay, just checking the chat. All right, as always, you guys, let me know how, the audio is. If you want me to zoom in some more, zoom out. I could zoom in a little bit, huh? It's very, very far away. How about that? Hi, what did Colleen say?
She's fun to say thank you for the suggestion.
Oh, good. Okay, that sounds good. And
beautiful.
Oh,
oh my goodness.
Oh,
Happy New Year, world.
Happy New Year. Well, not quite yet. We still have.
It's on your screen.
That's true. That's true.
true.
Also, depending on where you are, people in Germany are almost there. Almost. One more day. Here in Hawaii, we're way behind. It's still morning of December 30th. Okay, I just rinsed my brush. I'm picking up my Paris green, Schweinfurt green hue. Checking if the paper is still wet enough. Yeah, that's looking good. Let me just check the consistency of the paint. Nice and transparent. Okay, and now from the bottom up with broad strokes. Remember that when you mix green with orange, it's going to be really brown looking. Same with green and pink or red. So you kind of want to avoid going too much into the orange or red. Mixing with yellow is fine. You'll get a very nice bright lime green. See here? Rinsing my brush again, and now we're gonna go over to the blue color here. All right. And again, starting at the right-hand side, broad strokes, going up, up, up. And with blue, you can basically blend with all these colors here on the paper. So blending with green, blending with the pink will make a nice purple. I just saw I contaminated this part a little bit, so I'm rinsing my brush, going back into my blue, and just adding a little bit more color. Make sure you don't put too much paint down in this step because you want the fireworks to look transparent enough. You don't want to have too much color in your fireworks. All right, so okay. Also, don't be concerned if this is looking kind of ugly, you know, if you have some streaks there. We're going to basically cover everything with the darker color later and then paint in a coastline. So no worries about transitions or gradients here too much. Yeah, I'm looking over to the chat. Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you, Tracy. I don't know where James went. I think he went somewhere. Thank you, Alina. Oh, Alina, by the way, you guys, has a whole complete sketchbook tour of her Aloha 24 challenge on her Instagram right now, which is amazing. So thanks, Alina, for sharing that. At this point, you guys, if you participated in the Aloha 24 challenge, I highly suggest that you share a little sketchbook flip through of what you've done for the challenge. Even if you don't, you know, if you didn't do all the prompts like me, your host. I actually haven't, I don't think I painted every single prompt on my own challenge. But, you know, most of them, so that's good. Okay. Hi, Debbie. All right, back to our painting. So this has to dry, of course, before we can continue with the crayon. So what I suggest we do, hold on, is with another piece of paper, we're gonna test out how the crayon will look. What I mean by that is that depending on how hard you press down, you know, how thick you make your strokes, your fireworks will look different. And it's not always easy to get the right pressure right away. So I should have prepared that. I did not prepare paper for this part of the exercise. Hold on. Oh, okay. Yes. So because this is just a little exercise, I'm just gonna use some of this paper here. So grab whatever crayon you have and try out different strokes with it. So you press down very lightly, you press down harder. You can already practice the curved strokes. So like a semicircle. If you're just almost like you're going to draw a moon shape. So I'd say this was like medium pressure. Kaleo, Malia. And for this one over here, I'm going to press down a little harder. I'm also using a different crayon, so I know that makes a difference as well. And then you can just grab any paint. I'd say a darker paint makes more sense because you'll see it better. And just paint over your crayon marks. Ta-da! Fireworks! That's the easy. This is the easy way, you guys. No background. But yeah, I mean, just compare these two. So this was the Crayola, pressed down not that hard. This was the Neocolor one, and I pressed down with much more pressure. So you can already see the difference. And depending on what kind of look you want to achieve, just practice a few of these strokes and then try to mimic the stroke that you like on your colorful background later on. So for me personally, I don't like it when they're too pronounced. I don't like it when there's too much pressure. It's a bit too much, I think. Let me see if I can find the other sketchbook that I tried to paint the fireworks in, and I didn't like them. Is it this one? Let's see. Oh yeah. Okay, so this piece here, I pressed down really hard. And this is also very smooth paper, and I just, it's too much. I mean, it looks basically, it looks like spiders going nuts in the sky, doesn't it? Yeah, so I love the colors and everything, and you know, the energy of the piece, but too much, too broad strokes. So I'm definitely trying to do both lighter strokes, very light strokes, and in between a bit more pressure. And this, of course, you know, it requires a little bit of practice. You probably have to try this a few times until you find the kind of strokes that you like. But yeah, I think it just looks more natural. You know, for example, over here, the line is not going all the way through. You see a bit of texture from the crayon. I think that looks very good for fireworks. And for all the spaces in between that you don't fill with crayon, don't worry. That's the one we can go in back later with some Jelly Roll pen or with the Posca marker. Okay, so Agnieszka wants to know if there's a difference between using a white wax crayon or a wax stick. You know, you can actually use a white candle even for this exercise. It just has to be something that is water repellent and that you can somehow get onto the paper. So if you have, yeah, a wax stick, just make sure it's white as well. You know, as soon as you introduce color, if you use, for example, a beeswax candle, which is yellow, the whole piece will look a bit different, but it might be an interesting effect too. So yeah, just take a scrap piece of paper and test out different mediums for this technique. Okay, so my paper is still wet, which means, you guys know what that means. I'm gonna go to my hairdryer and I'll be back in a minute or less. Here we go. The paper is still a little moist here at the top, but that's okay. I'm just gonna not draw in this section. Okay. Ah, there she is. Hi, Mom. Hi, Taki. Yay. Oh, wait, she's been here before. I just missed the first comment. Hello, hello. Oh, she couldn't log into her Google to participate in the chat. Oh, yeah. So we had a complete power outage last night, you guys, 2 a.m. in the morning. Then the huge city electric truck came down the driveway and they showed like 10 really bright flashlights around. I mean, it was so bizarre, you know, you wake up to this kind of thing. So everything in the morning was restored, thank goodness, but also everything was reset. So yeah, I basically had to, you know, open everything back up, start everything back up, log in everywhere. So, you know what? I'm gonna use my pencil sharpener to sharpen my wax crayon, just so I have a nice pointy tip. Yeah, this should work. And before we start, I usually do this, you know, I eyeball this, but you can, of course, draw in the line for the horizon with a pencil. And hey, if you like, you can even put in the shape of the coastline here, lightly with your pencil. It's totally fine. And you can also draw in the centers of your fireworks. So where you want your fireworks flowers to be. Spiders, white wild spiders. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I said flowers because in Japan, fireworks are called hanabi. Hana means flower, and bi is, or he is fire. So it's fire flowers. Isn't that nice? Very accurate too, isn't it? And when they bloom like that. Okay, with my sharpened wax crayon, starting in the center. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually going a little bit to the side of my pencil mark so that the pencil mark won't be the center. Because if it is, then later on I'll have this pencil mark in the center and it won't be white or light. So that's why I'm putting my center with my crayon a little bit to the left. And then from the center with quick strokes using different pressures, go all around the center with curved lines. You can even draw outside of the paper. It doesn't matter because it's white crayon on white paper. So just try to be real quick and energetic about your strokes here. Lots of energy for the end of the year. We're like, no, Keiko, we're all tired. We're done with this year. No energy left. Don't make us do this. Okay, so, you know, for me personally, this was actually a pretty good year. I never talk about any lowlights on social media, you know, low points on my life or my business. They are there, but I usually don't share them, and I won't share them here. But I mean, honestly, this was, for me, in all regards, a good year. So I'm very thankful for 2024, Year of the Dragon. And of course, my two favorite highlights of the year were my visits to see family. So one in Germany and one in Japan. So interesting, isn't it? We do all these crazy things. We have success in our jobs and the business. We reach, I don't know, 4,000 followers on YouTube. But when I think back to the year, what comes to my mind is being in Japan with my mom and, you know, being with my dad and his family over in Germany. That's what I remember, or celebrating my mother-in-law's birthday the other day. It's just these kind of things that come to my mind first. Everything else, yeah, big part, important, I know. But in my heart, it's the other moments that I keep that are really important for the year. Okay, so once we're done with our crazy spiders, fire flowers, I'm dipping my brush in water and then picking up my Payne's Gray, Storm, oh, wait, wrong step. Rinse your brush again if you're painting along. We first want to lay down very gently and very carefully. Make sure you're hardly touching the paper. A layer of water first. So this is always very tricky with watercolor because you will disturb the pigments again. So just go over it very gently. Rinse your brush every now and then. See, I'm hardly touching the paper. And re-wet the upper part of your painting, and then we go in with Storm or Payne's Gray, or if you don't have either of those, mix yourself some black and blue. I'm just peeking over to the chat, and Lisa says the workshop in Landsberg with Tanya was great. I agree. Meeting you guys, you know, it's always interesting for me when I talk to people on Instagram for a long time, years and years and years, and I finally get to meet them. Often I feel like, oh yeah, it makes total sense. Like, oh yeah, that's Lisa, for example, right? So it's not like a surprise much. It's more like, oh yeah, that totally works. That's exactly how I thought it would be. So it's absolutely lovely. Okay, I got my Payne's Gray here, and then with some very gentle strokes, go over your colorful background and your fireworks. You can even drop in the paint. I mean, I don't want you guys to be too timid, right? You know, when I paint, it's paint splatter party, and I want you guys to do the same thing. No fear, just dig in. But we do have to be a little bit careful that we do not disturb too much of the pigment below our dark layer. When you come to the bottom of the sky, when it almost touches the coastline, you want to stop, rinse your brush, dab it on a paper towel or a cotton towel, and then gently move this edge around a little bit and mix it with your background. I'm not quite liking how the Payne's Gray settled in this spot, so I'm doing the same thing here, pushing the pigment around a little bit. Make sure your paper is still moist when you do this. The more it dries, the more edges and drying edges you'll have. So if the paper is already dry, you can also rinse your brush and add a little water to the brush and then go back in and just move the pigments around a little bit. And don't try to do too much. This is really something where the watercolor will work its own magic, mixing and blending the colors. You also want to make sure that some parts of the sky, like here, are lighter than other parts. This will create the illusion that, you know, there is lighter parts in the fireworks, and then there's also a sky, a dark night sky in the background. You can even make this effect a bit stronger by dropping in a bit more dark color towards the edges of your painting here while the paper is still wet. And see, this was the reason I added a layer of paint, a layer of water to the sky before dropping in the dark color, so that mixing and blending would be easier. Alrighty. Hi, Tanya. Ja, servus. Just looking over to the chat and I see that Miss Nice Day is here. Wonderful. And is it Angela or Angela? Hello. Oh, this tea is so wonderful. Almost done with it. It's so good. Vanilla black tea. I know you've seen my cup before, but let me show let me show you my Totoro cup again. It's so cute. I can't get over it. Every day I'm happy about a silly teacup. Yeah, right? The small things. Alrighty, so I still don't know if it's Angela or Angela. Angela? Angela. Let's say Angela. Angela. Angie. Okay. Next, we're gonna paint the coastline and then also add a little bit to the water down here. You know what, guys? Let's do the water first because it's a similar technique as up here. So rinse your brush, clean water, and go over parts of the water very lightly with just water. Left and right, quick strokes. You don't have to cover the whole water area. If you're using a ceramic palette, now would be a good time to just use a very diluted version of your Payne's Gray and add that to your water. Now you want really just a hint of your dark color on the water. Like this, and then hold your brush upright and then go in and add a few strokes in between. A few tiny, thin, slim strokes with your brush. So my husband James loves the Rolling Stones. Yes, so that's on my mind every day almost. Just because I see you guys mention the Stones in the chat right now. And yeah, this This is going to be a bit tricky here, painting the coastline. If you guys want to be on the safe side, let this dry first. I'm not going to bother with the hairdryer now. I'm just going to try and wing it. We're going to put in the coastline with a thick layer of paint here. And if it bleeds into the water, then, you know, let it do its thing. It's fine. So I'm picking up a very concentrated amount of my Payne's Gray. I'm changing brushes. This is a number 4 with a nice sharp point, drawing in the horizon line. As you can see, I'm not drawing the line through, which is just a little tip on the side. Whatever you do, drawing circles, drawing lines, you do not have to do everything in one stroke. You know, you can do little strokes, and that'll be totally fine too. Much easier approach than trying to draw the perfect straight line or draw the perfectly round circle in one stroke. As you can see, I left a little bit of highlights here on the coastline. You can also just paint the whole thing in one dark block and then go in later with your Jelly Roll pen, white gouache, or Posca marker or acrylic marker and add some white highlights on top. It doesn't really matter. Whatever feels easier for you at this point. Okay, and now for the little itty bitty palm trees. Little palm trees. I am holding my brush upright again. And let's do a few quick curved strokes. So all my palm trees are not straight. None of them are. They're just leaning left and right. Maybe there's a strong breeze. Maybe they just don't want to be straight because, you know, who wants to be? And then still with my brush held upright from the top point of the trunk, very quick, small bursts of strokes. Basically, we're doing fireworks here, wild spiders in miniature. I don't know what's going on with my spiders today. You can also do something like, you know, like this, just go left and right with this motion. Because these palm trees are so tiny, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter too much to get the shape, in quotation marks, right. You know, just try to make it look like fuzzy palm trees. And you can even do something like add little blobs in between to fill up this tree line here. You can even add some I don't know what that is, like some bushes here and here. Remember, this is super tiny. This is just a little side decoration. The main focus will always be on the fireworks because that's where the color is, that's where everything's happening. Okay, let me zoom out again. Oh, I just noticed. Oh man, I forgot a step. Well, it's kind of hard to explain that in hindsight, but okay. Look to the first painting I did. See those little bursts of color? I did those when we did the background and we had just the 4 colors down and the paper was still wet. Then I went in with some more concentrated paint to add those bursts of color. Now it's going to be interesting though to see if I can add those after the fact. Let's try this. So if you're not painting alongside with me, you're watching the stream later, or you're watching now and you're going to paint this later, remember to put in the color, those little bursts of color while your background is still wet before you go in with the crayon. You want to pick up a very concentrated version of your pink. And then starting from the outside, very quick strokes. And this is a lot of rinsing and cleaning your brush, because every time you do this, you're going to pick up, in this case, some of the black paint, right? So clean your brush. Pretty much after every stroke, pick up some more paint. See if I can get away doing another stroke here. Yeah. Huh, actually it works. It's not too bad. I like it. I mean, the difference is that it doesn't look as fuzzy. So I think in the first example, it blends better with the background. Here it's more pronounced. It's actually coming more to the foreground, but I don't think that's a bad thing. Kind of like the look of this. Okay, so let me reiterate. Depending on which look you like better, you should add your color bursts in the beginning or wait till this step and then add them later. See, sometimes happy accidents, right? You forget a step and then you add it later and it looks maybe even better. Who would have thought? Okay, we're going to do the same thing with the lemon yellow on this side. Still okay. Oops, wow, that was a big stroke. And of course it's turning green, mixing with the Payne's gray and the blue. So again, rinse your brush between your strokes. If you see that there is some black or blue paint on your brush, mixing with the yellow. Yeah, you guys, I'm really liking this version. Which one do you like better? I mean, which effect do you like better? The more pronounced color pops on this side, or, you know, the more blendy, more in the background style? Von der Muse geküsst. Ah, Dankeschön. Ihr seid alle meine Musen im Livestream. Okay, apologies, that was a bunch of German. So, Angie said, von der Muse geküsst, which means kissed by the muse. And I said, you guys are my muses, which I mean in all sincerity, because whenever I do a live stream, it's a mix of excitement and, you know, a tiny amount of being nervous and also just having a ton of fun. Also, I'm getting feedback from you guys. We talk about things, so I get distracted. Then things happen. But I find this super interesting and I really love it. This is not the first time in the live stream that I forgot a step, I did something wrong, something went wrong, and we kind of fixed it or just worked with it. And I think these live streams are teaching me so much, honestly. It's been probably the most rewarding thing for me for my, you know, for my business, if I even want to call it, and also for my art practice, to do these live streams. Very, very interesting in a good way, in a very positive way. Oh, you guys. Thank you. Okay, so let's see, what else are we gonna do? We can add a little bit of color to the water to indicate that the fireworks are reflected in the water. So let's do that. A little bit of yellow. You don't want to be too intense with the color in the water, so I'm gonna dilute it in on my ceramic palette. Just add a few strokes of yellow going down here, just reflecting the yellow fireworks on this side and in the center. Rinsing my brush, picking up some of my quinacridone magenta, and adding a bit of pink here on this side. Okay, that's it. If you like, you can also add a little bit of pink here to your coastline. That's totally optional. It's probably not gonna show much anyways. Hardly at all. But if you left a little more white highlights on your coastline, you might see it a little better. Okay, and the last step will be to add a little bit more white to make the fireworks more pronounced and stand out even more. So, as I said in the beginning, there are different ways to add white. You can use white gouache. It's going to be less pronounced. So in the first example, you can see the white gouache here and see how it looks almost like a little bit gray. And then everything that looks super white is done with the acrylic marker, with the Posca marker. I actually like to add both because the gray strokes are gonna recede into the background a little more, and then the white ones are the ones that really pop. And with the acrylic marker, the advantage is that you can draw on top of your wax crayon and it will show up. Whereas the gouache will just kind of be repelled by the wax crayon. Checking to see if the paper, yeah, my paper is still a little moist. Let's see. Just check exactly where the paper is moist. It's moist in this area. Okay, so not gonna go there yet. I'm gonna focus on the part of the paper that is already dry and adding some dots in the centers of my firework. What actually happened to my firework over here? I don't know, maybe I never added one. Okay, we'll just have 3 then on this side, which is good anyways. You know, drawing things, a lot of artists say that drawing uneven numbers is usually pleasing for the eye. Let's say you paint a bouquet of flowers, you wanna do an uneven number. And in this case, drawing 3 fireworks as opposed to 4 works really nice. Yeah, you create this kind of triangle here. Again, something that just happened without me really thinking about it much. Adding some little dots here. I honestly don't even really know what these are. I just felt like adding little dots. So I guess some of them could be stars in the background of the night sky. Some could just be little fireworks, tiny little, how'd you say, tiny little pieces of the fireworks dropping down from the sky. Okay, and then let's check the paper again. Oh yeah, that looks pretty dry now. Very good. You know, it's not impossible to paint over slightly moist paper with this marker. I just want to not risk ripping the paper. Actually has an interesting effect. So over here where the paper is still wet, I get a little fuzzy effect with my paint marker. Check your painting every now and then. You don't want to add too much white gouache. So just step back a little bit. I'm just gonna, in my case, stand up. Oh yeah, I think that's actually, isn't that enough already? I think, isn't it? I'd say so. Maybe add a bit more white here on my coastline. Add a little bit of white in the water. I think for that part, using the gouache will work a little better. Using the brush and using the gouache. The brush and the gouache. All right. And here we go. This is it, you guys. Okay. So, who of you painted along? Any of you painted along, or are you just relaxing the end of the year, watching a little live stream, and then maybe painting it tomorrow? I mean, tomorrow is Sylvester, right? Let me turn the camera around, and as a little surprise for you guys who are still here, I want to talk about next year's challenge a little bit. What do you say? Okay, hold on. Let me turn around. Hello. Okay. This phone holder. One of these days, I'll find a better way to set up my camera. Here we go. Well, my lovelies, I hope you enjoyed the stream. I like today's outcome a lot. I actually think, I mean, look at how the water looks. I think that looks really nice. Better than this one. I like the contrast too. So the sky got a bit darker. Yeah. All right. So next year, oh my gosh, it's around the corner, you guys. And I want to show you what we're going to do next year in the Aloha 25 challenge. So let me just quickly recap this year. This year, every month, the idea was to puppies, excited puppies. This year, the idea was to combine watercolor with another medium. Then every month we had an overall theme, for example, seascapes or nightscapes or a farmer's market. We had Hawaiian birds, etc., etc. And then one prompt per week. There was not really a, dedicated, designated color palette. Not like in the year before, in 2023, I worked with a limited color palette. Hi. Oh yes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Nice try, James. He's trying to shush the dogs and they're like, whatever. Excuse me. So, This year, there was not a designated limited color palette. So the main focus was on doing watercolor plus another medium and then sticking to an overall theme every month. Next year, in 2025, I had this idea to work with a super limited color palette and to focus on one color per month. So in January, we're gonna focus on the color blue, and then every week we're gonna combine it with another color to create a super limited color palette. So basically two colors. First week it's gonna be blue and orange, and then you can see you combine these two colors to something that's like a rusty brown interesting color. Then week 2 is going to be blue and pink, and then, you know, of course with these two colors you can create purple. So the idea is going to be to just focus 1 month on one color in combination with another color. So you really do not have to think about what colors to use. I'll also have a prompt every month, but it's not going to be an overall theme. So this year was also very Hawaiian focused or Hawaii focused. Next year is going to be really more about different watercolor techniques, wet on wet, lifting, white space, negative space, etc., and working with a super limited color palette. So I'm really excited about this. I think it's going to be very interesting to not be able to use a lot of colors and to work with what you have. You know, you're also going to be able to just, or you don't have to think about what colors to choose for a specific prompt, because I'm going to give you those colors. So I hope you are excited. There will be, of course, you know, live streams just like this year. But because the prompts are going to be a bit more open, I'm not going to have the same type of, you know, step-by-step tutorial every week type of deal. It's going to be more a mix of the occasional tutorial and then also some live streams, but it's also going to be a lot of experimenting for you guys, exploring new techniques. Okay, so my dears, I hope you have a wonderful start into the new year. Thank you so much for accompanying me on, you know, my own art journey, to be also a part of the Aloha Studios, you guys. And I wish you a very happy new year and frohes neues. Ha'oli makahikiho. Otanjobi omedeto. And I'm running out of my languages now, so bye-bye. See you in the next stream sometime next year. Aloha.